Hey everybody, it is Dean Z speaking to you from Jeffries Hall, where Dustin has me kind of propped against this table that it is possible to just slide out from under me and I'll fall on my tuchus, and we'll leave that in if that happens and we can all have a good laugh. But let's hope it doesn't happen. I want to talk to you today about writing a why X school essay. I was inspired to do this topic because I have been talking to a lot of prospective applicants lately. I don't usually have a chance to do that, but we've been short-staffed in the office this summer, and so needs must. I had to step up and, do my bit. And so it's been fun getting to talk to people who have a different set of questions and concerns than I usually am talking to people at the stage after they've already been admitted. And so this has been a lot of fun. And I had a great conversation yesterday with someone who wanted to get my advice about whether to write. So he was asking me about why Michigan essay, but this is advice for any school that has a why X essay. And in fact, now that I'm thinking of it, now that I'm saying of it, it is actually good advice too for if you're doing an interview with a school, which Michigan does not offer interviews, but they often serve, frankly, the same function as a YX essay. So the person I was talking to said that they had read on, I assume Reddit, I don't know that they specified, but that they'd gotten advice that said don't write a YX essay because then schools will think you're just too in love with them and they'll admit you, but you'll never get any financial aid. And I was like, there should be some kind of word for this. I don't know that there is one. I don't know it. But it's like you're being too clever. You're shooting yourself in your own foot by being too clever. The reason I think this is terrible advice is schools want to know why are you interested in coming here? Now, to be fair, to be clear, schools all the time admit people who don't address that or don't address it in any great detail. Some schools don't even invite this kind of essay, but everybody wants to be wanted, right? And so if you have a specific reason why you want to go to a school or set of reasons, you'd be crazy not to tell them so. And I promise you this is not going to hurt your financial aid. I mean, I guess I should be careful about what I'm promising because I have no way of actually, seeing into the hearts and minds of all financial aid offices everywhere. But usually, first of all, they're a little bit separate from the admissions office. And second of all, it doesn't make any sense because even if a person expresses a great deal of interest in the school, any admissions officer with any kind of functioning sensibility would know you still have to work to recruit someone. You still have to work to get them in your class. So I just give zero credence to this advice and would strongly recommend you put it out of your head. And if you have something you want to say in a YX essay, you should definitely say it. Now, what is a good thing to say? Let's talk about that. So I often get questions about, well, my reasons for being interested in your school are that I have relatives in the area, or my spouse has a job in the area, or something that has really nothing to do with the school. In my opinion, that is still a very good thing to put in. It shows that you are, connected to this area, and sometimes that's not at all evident from an application. So sometimes I'll be getting, an application from someone who is born in New York, went to school in California, and seems to have never stepped foot in anything in between, and yet they actually have connections to the area. Well, that's useful, interesting for me to know. So I think that is definitely fair game. Sometimes I'll get people talking about things that have to do with the university, but not so much the law school. I sometimes get a lot of information, for example, about people who like the football program. I also get a lot of information from people at rival schools who talk about how they hate the football program. I'll just tell you, as far as I'm concerned, you could just not ever mention the football program, and that's fine with me. But I guess I wouldn't go on at length about something like, like a football program or some other element of an experience that really has only a little to do with the law school. But I think it's absolutely fine to refer to it and talk about it as one of several things that you're interested in. I wouldn't make it be the focus of my essay. And you might couch it more as, I just love the sort of the vibe of the place, right? And I think vibes are a perfectly reasonable basis on which to found your YX school essay. Sometimes people want to talk about particular areas of the law that they want to study, that they think your school does particularly well. I think that is also grand. You need to tread a little carefully there, not to refer too much to, say, a single professor, because maybe the admissions office is aware that that professor is about to retire, or maybe the admissions office is aware that the professor you think seems great based on their research is actually a professor that students don't enjoy taking or something. So it can be a little tricky. I wouldn't focus too much on one person. I would talk about several people if it's an area of the law that you're interested in. Also, you don't want to just sound like inappropriately focused on one individual. It can come off as, what do they call that? A parasocial relationship. Okay, what else do people sometimes talk about that is useful? Or let me actually move to what they talk about that's not as useful. Often people will talk in very general terms in essays I see about Michigan as as our career stats. Like Michigan is a school that places people in lots of different kinds of jobs. And while that is true, it is a sentence that can refer to a number of different schools. So you have to be careful when you're writing one of these, that you're not just taking paragraphs about one school that could easily apply to 10 other schools, because it comes off as, it's just not very interesting. It doesn't sound very sincere. It's not doing the work that you want it to do. But what, you may say, Dean Z, what do I do if I don't know much about a school? All I know is what's on the website, so all I can tell you is what's on the website. That is a very fair point. And I would say, in most instances, maybe that's not the essay you should write. Like if you have alternative essay topics to write on and you don't have anything specific to say in answer to that one, choose one of the other essay topics. But I am aware that some schools only have a YX essay as their optional. And I also mentioned that this is sort of useful information for when you are doing an interview, in which case, you've got to address it. Well, in that case, yes, you're stuck with sticking with generalities, but still try to find sort of the more interesting information from the website. Maybe something that's specific to the school. So maybe it's a particular social event, or maybe it's a particular tradition they have. Or maybe if you can try to learn more by, maybe somebody who went to your undergrad alma mater also went to that law school, or, maybe there's ways you can Google things more generally than their website, more, online, and see what people from that school are saying about that school and get some information that way. If you just really need to fill it out because for whatever reason you feel like you've got to address this issue and you don't have a lot of personal information to put into it. But in general, as always with all writing, the more specific you can be, the more particular you can make your reasons and examples, the more interesting it will be for the reader, and thus the more persuasive it ends up being. So do your best to dig up that kind of information. But bottom line, if you have a reason why you want to go to a particular school and they give you an opportunity to tell them that, please tell them. Please don't be so coy that you keep that to yourself because you think it will hurt you down the line financially. It's just not great reasoning. Or at least I should say it doesn't comport with my experience of what admissions officers are doing. All right, I hope that's useful. Keep those cards and letters coming, because I am always looking for good things to share with you all, good myths to bust, good information to provide. So, all right, now for the grammar portion of our show. I got a big one today. Yesterday, I got a text from someone who used to work here who said, do you still have that blog article you wrote about the name, about what JD stands for? JD, of course, is the name of the degree you get when you go to law school for 3 years. I wrote a blog post, again, about 100,000 years ago, on how many people think that it stands for Juris Doctorate, like a PhD, but it's Juris Doctor, not Juris Doctorate. And apparently my one blog post did not solve the problem, because the person who was writing to me is a recruiter working at a law firm, and she tells me it is an epidemic that everybody says Juris Doctorate. Well, it's not. Don't say it. Say Juris Doctor, or just say JD if you get, if you don't trust me, or if you just get nervous about making a commitment. All right? I hope that is helpful. Let's try to stamp this out wherever we can. Thank you. All right. As I say, send us emails, leave us comments, tell us what you want to hear, and I will endeavor to provide. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Dustin, for all your help. And wherever you go, go blue.